Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Youier podcast. I am your host, Elle Edwards, founder of Youier and the Blue House. If this is your first episode joining us, well, welcome. If you've been here the whole time, thank you very much. I'm glad that you've come back for another episode. We are season 8. We're on season 8 of the podcast, and all of this season we've been bringing you short and sweet and actionable episodes, helping you be Youier, the person you were created to be in intentional, expectant relationship with God. Often have a plaything, so stick around to the end to find out what your plaything is. With that reminder, if you're a member of the Blue House, you can share what comes up for you inside the playground, inside the Blue House. And if you're not a member of the Blue House, you can of course come and join us. We have pay as you're nudged. So I think the minimum is £1, which is about $1.35. So if you don't have a community where you can explore what it means for you to be you and all of that good stuff, go to youier.com/join. I would be delighted to show you around. I'm really excited about the direction that we're heading in, and we've got some fun stuff planned for the summer as well. I'm just saying, but that's a conversation for another day. Today, really, we're considering what are those things that you're excited about? What are those things that light you up? What are those things that you do that you do them and you're just like, oh, that was the best? And what if you did more of those things? Because our Bible verse for today, and it's one I quoted very recently, I think it was last week, and it's one of our key verses in terms of what we're doing here at Youier. But this is Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. What does that mean? It means that actually there's nothing accidental about your life. I know we've had that reminder before, but I'm being reminded to remind you again. You are not an accident. You are God's work of art. He created you and he saw you and knew you as he laid the foundations of the world. And there is a plan and a purpose for your life. So if I was going to be God, which I am thankfully not. But imagine imagine if you were God, which you are thankfully not. But if you were in charge of creating the world and all the people in it, and you created each person on purpose for a purpose, do you suppose that you might possibly, as you created them, you might possibly create them with things that they get excited about that would lend themselves well to that plan and that purpose? It stands to reason, doesn't it? And I mean, if it seems logical and stands to reason to us as mere humans, God being God, who's so much more brilliant and can see the whole picture, absolutely has that ability to hardwire it into you. And so those things that you get excited about, that's not an accident. Those things that you're passionate about, those things are put there deliberately. Now, I'm not talking about your passion for a particular flavour of ice cream, although it could be that you are somebody and actually your purpose is to create an ice cream shop that will serve your community. So I can see ways where even ice cream could be an indication of something that is bigger than just you. But what we're really talking about here is those things that you do almost instinctively without having to think about it. Those things that after you do them, they make you feel so yeah, that was brilliant. An example of that for me is every time I'm a guest on somebody else's podcast, without exception, can I think of an exception? No, without exception, every single conversation I've had, I've left that time going, oh, that was just so fun. Now, are there some hosts who I connect with a little bit better than others? Absolutely. But every single time, getting this opportunity to show up and chat with somebody, and the same is true actually when I have guests on my podcast, on the Lead by Design podcast, meeting people and having conversations and doing life with people, it makes me feel yeah, this is brilliant. This is what I was born to do. And it's no accident then, and no surprise therefore, that a big part of what I do is in community, meeting with our wonderful Blue House members on Zoom and doing life together. If I was somebody for whom that would be draining and exhausting, there will be occasions where you might need to sort of get over yourself because it serves a bigger purpose. But actually, I would argue that I don't believe it would be integral and a key part of what you do. Now, that's not to say that if you're introverted that you can't lead communities. I'm not saying that. Please hear my heart on this. However, those things that you are excited about, those things that energize you, those things that make you feel fully alive, those are incredible clues towards who it is that God created you to be and how you are to do life. Now, right now, in this particular context, this is what it looks like for me in this particular season. Don't forget, however, that you will go through different seasons where you being you could, like, I maintain you could pick me up and transplant me into any situation and I would still be me. I'm always going to be the person who, if I'm in a group environment and someone's asking a question, I will be inevitably the first person to answer the question, or not in a showing up I know the answer kind of way. You know, like when you're in let's use Zoom as an example. You know, when you're in a Zoom call and somebody, you know, they're wanting you to share an experience, for example. I have to hold myself back from being the person to be the first one to speak up. And I've come to the conclusion now, do you know what, actually, I'm not meant to hold back. Yes, I can pause in case there's another person in the room who is equally wired like I am. You know, we don't want to be interrupting each other. But those conversations need somebody like me who isn't shy about speaking up and sharing, because as I speak up and share, and then somebody else will speak up and share, very few people like to go first. And so that's why you need people like me in the room, because I don't mind going first. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. The only reason, like I say, I will hold back is because I don't want to jump in front of somebody else. And so it's about wanting to you know, be respectful of the conversation that's going on. I use that as an example. It's an example from my life. I can give you an example from my life because I know me. You will have examples from your life. What are those times where, because notice what I said, in my default in that sort of situation is I will share. I have to hold myself back. So you could pay attention. Where are those areas in your life where you sometimes feel yourself holding back? Those are a really good clue to actually how you are wired, how you are created to show up and shine. And will there be occasions where you will need to pause and hold back? Absolutely. But am I saying that maybe the less that you can hold back, the better? Absolutely. So there's two parts to today's plaything. The first thing, and this is not going to be one that you can just, you know, sit down for half an hour and knock it out the park and be done. This is one where I'm going to ask you to notice and pay attention. So you might want to have a notebook or notes on your phone or whatever. Is to start noticing. Like I say, notice those times when you can feel yourself holding back from your natural instincts. Notice those times when something feels light and easy and you feel like, yeah, I could do this for always. I remember, for example, one time we have a one-day event in the Blue House. I think it was the second or third time we'd hosted them because they're every month. I remember coming off that call and saying to my husband, oh, I love doing that. Do you know what? This is what I was born to do. It's so energizing. What are those things that are so energizing for you? Those things that make you feel like you've come alive. Notice those things. Write them down in some way. And you maybe already know what these things are. Great. If you do, move on to part two. So part two then is how can you bring more of those things into your day-to-day life? Because not every single thing that you do in your day are going to be those things that energize you and light you up and make you feel fully alive. But if you can bring more of those things into your day, it will help you feel more fulfilled. It will, given that God put those things in you on purpose, it will help you move towards your purpose. And so, yes, this is about helping you live a happier, more fulfilled life, but this is also helping you move and step into whatever it is that God has for you to do, which, by essence of the fact that God's inviting you to do it means it will help make this world a much better place. So it's for your benefit, but it's also for the benefit of the wider world too. So it's a 2-for-1. So I would encourage you, play with it, see what comes up for you. Like I say, Blue House members, share what comes up for you inside the playground, inside the Blue House. We would love to, particularly if there's I'd never noticed this before, some new noticings. Or if you've noticed all the things before, some new ideas for how you can bring those things into action. Because yes, like I've said before, I love sharing these things with you. Hopefully they're quite, good to listen to. They're entertaining to a point. But it's not just about that. This is not just about giving you another thing to listen to and go, oh, wasn't that lovely? This is about taking action. So make sure you do both parts of this. Notice and then explore how can you bring more of those things into your day. You need to do both pieces of this in order to really help you move forward into everything that God has for you. Hopefully this has been an encouraging episode for you. I am full of anticipation for this one because as you notice those things, you can bring more of them in. That will make you more happy, more delightful. Reminding you back to last week's episode, it will help you thrive, which will help bring salvation to the nations. Can you see how it all fits together? It's just brilliant. So have fun with it, play with it. If you know somebody who would benefit from today's episode, please do share it with them. And don't forget, if you're considering the Blue House, youier.com/join is where you can find out more and you can join us. I'll be back very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.